As we light the chalice this morning, our opening words are brought to us by Christian D. Larson. Promise yourself to talk healthy, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something very wonderful about them. Promise yourself to think only the best and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Promise yourself to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words, but in great deeds. Promise yourself to be too large to worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Promise yourself. We bid you welcome. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think in any certain way, but only that you try to live a kindly and helpful life with the dignity proper to a human being. Welcome to all who believe that religion is wider than any sect, is wider than any religion, and deeper than any set of opinions. Welcome all who may find friendship within us, with us, strength and encouragement for daily living. Good morning. My name's Nathan Whitehead. Me and my family. Hello, Holden. He's waving at me. Our family has been here members for 6-ish years or so, and I'm very thankful to have the privilege of leading us today in our service. Also very thankful that we're lucky enough to have Peggi Tabor returning to the pulpit to speak to us. She's spoken here several times before, always a pleasure to have her here. Today she is going to be talking to us on the science of happiness, how we can use contemplative neurology, psychology, and everyday behavioral adjustments to help us maintain resilience and optimism and strength during these troubling times. I'd like to extend a special welcome to any visitors here today. After the service, we invite you to stay for coffee hour downstairs in Adams Hall. And while we are in the meeting house here, we are observing COVID precautions and wearing masks, regardless of vaccination status. Religious education classes for the kids, they are held in the classrooms during the service, and an usher can direct you there, but kids are here with us just to start off this morning. And joys and sorrows, we share those throughout the service, and they can be shared right up here at the microphone, or you can fill out a blue card, give that to a usher in the back, or you could text my phone number, the phone number that's listed on page 2 of the order of service. But speaking of cell phones, if you could take a moment to silence yours, that would be stupendous. All right, Corey, our religious education coordinator, would you like to come up and...
I think of happiness. Kids are always happy, right? Well, most of the time we're happy, right? And we want to know what makes all of you happy. We share some of the same happiness, some of the things that make us happy. I think we have in common. How about the snow? Does snow make you all happy? No? Yeah. I gotta say, it did make me so happy today because it was very scary getting here driving. But it is beautiful. helping people. I love it. I love it. Yes, helping people does make us very happy, doesn't it? Go ahead, Sydney.
Um, I just, mine was just, my sister.
Your brothers. Sisters. Family makes us happy. Jude, would you like to share?
Winning, beating a hard CPU in a hard video game.
Oh, getting past a certain level. Yes, sure, in a video game.
Spending time with friends and family.
Yeah, that makes me happy too. Oh, okay. And then Addison, we gotta. Okay, here's
TV, ice cream, and friends.
all right. Ice cream, yes. Okay, Addison.
Playing with my little brother.
Aww, I know he makes me happy too. Did you want to share? Okay. All right. Well, yes, there's lots of things that make me. Oh, do you want my microphone? Oh, okay. Okay, it's fine. All right. We are going to read a book about Layla's happiness, and I want you all to pay attention and see if there are things that she likes that makes her happy. That's similar to things that make you happy, or if there are some different things, all right? So this book is about Layla's happiness. I'm going to take this one. My name is Layla. I'm 7 years old. Layla means night beauty, and I love the night. Sorry, I'm just getting big smiles over here. The dark sky is pretty. It's the color of dark purple plums. And the full moon, well, it's my favorite. It sits in the sky like a wish flower's sister. If I could reach the moon, I'd blow on it and wish to play the trumpet well without ever having to practice. I think happiness is climbing a tree. Or wearing purple. Or eating spaghetti without a fork. It's my dad when he talks about growing up in South Carolina. And my mom when she reads me poetry. Happiness is planting a tomato seed and watching it grow in my favorite place, the community garden down the block. In the garden, I can dance with a ladybug on my finger, see butterflies, and chase my friend Juan. I can feed chickens and give all the trees names. I can even pick vegetables to sell at our farmer's market. There's the farmer's market. I think happiness is hearing Juan's parents laugh after they dance salsa under the magnolia tree. Yeah, they're dancing. The salsa, it's a dance, yeah.
I'll teach you later if you want.
Yeah. And when the sea reaches into her pocket to give me a $100. Yeah, $100. I think happiness is showing my mom the outer space flowers in my kaleidoscope. That's what I think. Do you think so too? What is happiness to you? So I want you all to think about the things that make you happy, the things that make your friends and your family happy, and see if we share some similarities. All right? Okay, are you guys ready to go back? Hey, Thank you all so much.
Please join me in stating our mission. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, and live with compassion. We have a few announcements this morning. From our membership committee, I was reminding folks that we have 2 outings to plays upcoming on the 4th and the 18th. So check the email blast for additional details or ask the committee members. And speaking of committee, like the membership committee, we have a committee fair coming up. Join us after the service in Adams Hall, that's downstairs, on February 12th for the return of the committee fair. UUCF is strong because of members like you guys who contribute their time and talents to the church. And congregations work because members find ways to give of themselves, whether it's through singing in the choir or financial management or bookkeeping or educating the kids or building or upkeep around the grounds around here, coordinating speakers and such like that. All sorts of fun things that the committees do to help make this church function. A lot of, after years of the pandemic, we need some new members for some of these committees. So we're doing a fair to you can learn more about these committees and bring some of your fresh ideas to them as well. So come learn about what each committee can do. That's on February 12th after the service. All right, there's all sorts of other things going on in the church as well. Always check that email blast. If you are now willing, could stand as you are willing and able to sing our first hymn, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere, and we will sing all 4 verses. As part of our service this morning, we are pleased to welcome those who have chosen to become members of our congregation. The decision to become a member is an expression of spiritual commitment, and though your individual spiritual journeys and questionings continue, you have nevertheless come to a time in your journey where you are willing to say, yes, this is my spiritual home. Today we celebrate this homecoming. At this time, I'd like to invite our board president, Liz Knight, to come forward and lead us as we welcome a new member.
Thank you, Nathan. As president of the executive board, it's my pleasure to welcome new members when they join the congregation. I'd like to welcome up Dave Darling up this morning. So our individual journeys have brought us together in this moment and this place to share a common purpose and vision for our future. Through your choice to join this congregation, you've expressed your intention to commit to our vision, promote our principles, and be a part of this community. Through you, a new member today, our congregation is renewed. We welcome and honor the diversity you bring, which increases the vitality and creativity of our community. We embrace you this day, honoring the talents and energy you add, and we encourage you to savor the journey you have become to find a place in the congregation that is distinctively yours. May your spirit be nurtured here, as together we do our part to create a loving, just, and sustainable world. For those of you that don't know, Dave is signing our membership book, which has been a part of the 150-year history of this congregation. It's my pleasure to welcome Dave into our community. Will you please join me in a round of applause? So as Dave signs the membership book, if you didn't hear me on the microphone, that membership book has been a part of our church's 150-year-old history. So there's a lot of names and history written into that book. We also want to give you a gift as welcome to the congregation. And then I'm going to read a statement for the congregation to affirm welcoming Dave into the congregation, and then I'll have a statement for Dave as well. So to the congregation, with joy, we affirm and recognize your decision to become a member of this beloved community. We pledge to support you in your search for truth, to celebrate with you in times of joy, to help you in times of trouble, and to join with you in rightful actions. Congregation, if you affirm these sentiments, please say, we do. We do. And Dave, by joining the UU Church of Farmington, we ask that you commit to support yourself and another and all of us here in our efforts to speak honestly, to act with compassion, love without prejudice, and live with integrity, to respond with courage to demands of justice. We ask that you support the congregation and the association of which we are a part as you are able, with your heart and your hands, your talents and resources. If you affirm these sentiments, please say, I do.
I do.
In our work together across generations, may we become a more effective instrument of service, a voice for liberation, reason, and respect, and a community in which we can honor all that life brings to us. May it be so. So Dave is here because of his great decision to marry another member, Erin Patrice Foley. He's become a regular at the Men's Tuesday Lunch Group and at social activities, along with attending our new UU and U classes. And we welcome him into the family.
I just want to say how happy I am and how proud I am to become a member of this wonderful community. Thank you very much. Thank you.
After a career in marketing with the Xerox Corporation, during which she designed and delivered training programs to Xerox managers in both the U.S. and abroad, Peggy traveled to Africa with the U.S. Peace Corps. There, living in a remote village, she helped villagers start micro-businesses and worked with traditional healers to battle the AIDS pandemic. I remember her speaking about those trips before here. Dr. Tabor is certified integrated wellness coach. She holds an MBA in marketing and communications, a master's degree in metaphysical science, and a PhD in philosophy. So with that, I'm very pleased to welcome back Dr. Peggy Tabor.
Gosh, hasn't this just been fun so far? I love the children, and they know the science of happiness. You could have just kind of left the service with their thoughts and been full of all the correct information. Let me just get my pointer here. So happiness it's a really popular topic. It's everywhere. You walk into any bookstore and, take our happiness quiz, the how of happiness, how to guarantee a happy and successful life. It's everywhere. But, really, what is happiness? So for the purposes of today's talk, I'd like to define happiness as a subjective, very personal. Everybody's idea of it is slightly different, but it's a subjective sense of peace of mind, of ease of being, of contentment. It's a state of inner joy. And we have evolved as a species to be happy. It's part of our DNA. Every sentient being that has ever been on this planet has, even a one-celled paramecium, will move towards a positive stimulus and away from a negative stimulus. That's a one-celled animal. But we've evolved, we have some people say 37 to 50 trillion cells. So what makes us really happy takes a little more introspection. And fortunately for us, great thinkers throughout history have really been devoting their lives to it. The interesting thing about this is how the most ancient philosophers agree completely with current psychologists, neurologists, and psychoanalysts. Everybody kind of, Confucius in ancient China said that happiness always has an outward orientation towards the well-being of others. Marty Seligman, who is the father of positive psychology here in our contemporary world, says the same thing. Happiness always has an outward orientation. The way to really experience happiness is to experience the happiness of others and be a part of it. Marcus Aurelius. I brought him up in my Stoic talk a few months ago. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic thinker and philosophy, said that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Today, people like Rick Hansen, who is a neuroscientist, says the same thing with thousands of pages of research to support him. He says that we can actually hardwire happiness into our brains by learning how to control the direction of what we think about. So having control of our thoughts can hardwire the neurological connections in our brain that light up the parts of our brain that give us happiness and that trigger the production of neurotransmitters in our body, like dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, to really make us feel happy and content. Buddhist and Hindu philosophers throughout time have said, that happiness really involves not craving the wrong stuff, not going after the wrong things. Today, researchers such as Sonia Lubomirsky, she's at UC Santa Clara, and she's one of the best funded researchers in happiness in the United States. She just got another $1 million, which in psychology departments of university is a heck of a lot of money, to research what makes people happy. She's written a book called called The How of Happiness, and I think you have a handout. Everything I mention in today's talk should be in your handout. It's a little toolkit for happiness. So if it's not, it's available online, I believe. I think, is that right, Jess? It was emailed out in our e-blast on Friday. There you go. It's right in your email. So everything don't worry about trying to remember the titles of books or anything. It's all in the your happiness toolkit. So happiness, it's being taught, it's being studied, it's really being studied. A professor at Yale University, her name is Dr. Lori Santos. She read the United States College report on how students are doing and was shocked to see that 57% of the students that responded to this survey said that during the last year, they had experienced such negative thoughts that they really felt they were depressed. And 32% of them said that this depression was so great that they couldn't even attend class. She said, this is just not right. I mean, these are our best and our brightest. These are Yale students. These are Stanford students. These young people should be at the top of their game, and they're all just depressed. So she decided she would do something about it, and she put together a course, Psych 157, for Yale University. It was called Psychology and the Good Life. It went into the college catalog. Within 1 week, 25% of the entire student body of Yale University had signed up for this class. It's been the single most popular college class in the history of any American university, and she's now thought to be one of the best college professors. She has a podcast called The Happiness Lab that's really good. It's free. If you do podcasts, I highly recommend it. I think I put it in the notes. So, by the way, that course, I took that course. It's available online through Coursera.org. Have any of you gone to their courses? It's 8 weeks. It's wonderful. You can pay for it if you want credit for it, but if you want to audit it, you can take it. I think you can still take it for free. It was worth every minute that I spent on it. So it's being taught, happiness is being measured, it's being studied, and we now really have the technology to figure out scientifically, factually, what is it that makes us happy? We've got EEGs, we got fMRIs, we can hook up people to PET scans, we can look at people's brains, present them with various situations and see what really gives them contentment. Then we have all these wonderful long-term psychological assessments that can over time see, does this particular behavior make you happy for a minute, for an hour, or for the rest of your life? So we can train ourselves to be happier. So we'd have to ask ourselves, what really contributes to our happiness? And according to all of the current scientific data, happiness is really dependent upon three things. Good. This always works here. I'm always so impressed with it. It's three things. Okay, first, this part. See if I can get my little technology to work. There it goes. This part, 50% of our happiness is thought to be genetic. This means it's not just the genes that are passed on from parents to children. And this would be like, do you look at things as a situation as a challenge or an opportunity? Do you normally have kind of a feeling that everything is okay, or more of a feeling like things are not quite okay? This is largely genetically caused. Now, the current studies in epigenetics, which is the study of why our genes express themselves, has a very important result on this. It's like epigenetics says that genetics loads the gun, but we decide when to pull the trigger. So our behavior can actually significantly impact the action of our genes. So this is 50%, but it's not really written in stone. The other part of the genetic, this would be like your genetic set point for happiness, is how you were handled as a very small child and baby. So when you hold a little infant in your hand and you smile at that baby and you just are feeling love towards that baby, in that child's brain are neurons that are called mirror neurons, and it will feel the emotion that you are expressing to that, and it will wire its brain to be calmer. It will wire its brain to trigger the parasympathetic part of our nervous system, which is like the rest and relax part of our nervous system. So every time you get a chance to cuddle a baby and love it, do it, because it gives it a very long, very, very long-term result from that type of behavior. And also with just little children, everything that we can do to express love and acceptance and security to small children actually impacts their genetic set point for happiness. It changes their genes. It fires genes within their system that will make them be happier as adults. So that's the genetic set point. The most surprising part of this study, and this is one of Sonia Luberminski's study, primarily based on that, is that look at this little 10%. That's our circumstances. That's how much money we have. That's what kind of house we live in. That's who we're married to. I mean, wouldn't you think that would be more than 10%? But it's not. Our circumstances really only contribute to about 10%. There's really interesting studies on this. In 1975, a bunch of researchers got two groups of people together. One of these groups won the lottery. Their happiness went right through the roof. The other group that they studied in this very long-term, large study were in accidents and lost the use of their legs. They couldn't walk. Their happiness went down the drain. However, the researchers followed these people for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and surprising to all, at the end of almost a year, they were just slightly different. They went right back to their preset genetic set point for happiness. This is because of a very, very human psychological reality called hedonic adaptation. So, you buy a new car. You love your new car. It's so pretty and shiny, and it smells so nice, and driving the new car makes you happy. But after, 3 or 6 months, maybe you get a little ding in the door. You've eaten so many French fries in it and McDonald's that instead of smelling like a new car, it smells like stale French fries. All of a sudden, it's just transportation. That's hedonic adaptation, and it happens with absolutely every single thing we get, whether it's a car or a house or a husband. It just happens. You got to work on it, and you can work on it. So that's our circumstances. Now, the third part, and this is the important part. This is the part we have absolute control over. This is ourselves. This is our own behavior. This is the situations that we choose to put ourselves in. This is the way we choose to think and respond to what happens to us. So this is completely under our control, and it turns out that you and I are in charge completely of 40%, almost half of our happiness. Working on it can really make us happier long term and can prevent us from a lot of suffering, particularly mental suffering. So one of the things that is extremely important for long-term happiness is the power of social connections. There's a study done by Harvard University. It started in 1938. This thing is 83 years old, and it was 724 boys. The guys that the fellow that runs this study now is just an outstanding fellow, a psychiatrist, and he says he keeps having a hard time getting more money from the National Institute of Health, NIH, because the study was all men. There was no diversity. It's all white guys. However, in the 83 years, it's become a little more diverse. Now they study their spouses, their children, their grandchildren. There's only a few still living. They're in their late 90s and early hundreds. Those are a handful. But there's tens of thousands of pages of studies on these guys. Half of them were Harvard sophomores. You'll recognize a couple names. John F. Kennedy was one of the original members of this study, as was Ben Bradley, long-term editor of the Washington Post. He was one of the guys. The other half, more than half, came from the lowest socioeconomic strata of Boston at the time. Not just poor boys, but poor boys who had been in trouble. And they've studied these people for 83 years. There's two uncontroversial results of this study. One is that happy relationships contented long-term relationships keep us healthier, we live longer, and we just in every way are happier than people who do not have them. And the other thing is loneliness kills. Loneliness is as detrimental effect to our long-term health and happiness as is either alcoholism or heart disease or any of the terrible big three. So whatever we can do to prevent loneliness in ourselves and those we love is a key to happiness. Now, there's some real good news about this. Like my husband and I were very happy when we read this part of the report. Bickering doesn't count. You can bicker with the person that you're with all you want. The key to the relationship is if something goes wrong, does that person have your back? And do you know that there are people in your life that no matter what happened, they could call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you would be there for them? The more people you can have in those categories, the longer you're going to live, the healthier you're going to be, and the happier you're going to be. So there's just been let me just mention a YouTube thing that's not in your notes. The guy who's running this program is called Robert Waldinger. He's got a book out that is all about this 83-year-old study, and he did this little YouTube video at an elementary school about 10 years ago. He's a wonderful, wonderful speaker and really understands the study, and this video went viral, and it's one of the 10 top watched videos in the history of YouTube. It's a little TED Talk video. So these relationships are all a result of what we could refer to as pro-social traits. That means our ability to reach out and connect with others. I love the first comment that one of the children made. Didn't she say what makes her happy? Doing something for somebody else, I think she said. That is exactly the bottom line to this presentation. So the Dalai Lama said, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. And if you want to be happy, practice compassion. I know you all practice compassion. It's part of your religious belief, and you couldn't have a better one. Compassion really could be defined as the feeling that arises when you witness somebody else's suffering and you want to do something to relieve it. It's an emotion that's really closely related to empathy, which is seeing someone in pain and kind of, I feel their pain, I feel your suffering. Compassion just adds that other little bit, and I want to do something to help you with it. It's now widely known that compassion and empathy are also part of our evolved biological makeup. All mammals practice compassion, and you can see why. I mean, a mother, any mammal mother, has to take care of their offspring and protect them and make sure that they're okay in order to continue the species. We, as social beings, we know that if we're in a group, our old ancestors, the early human beings, realized that being members of a group was a lot safer and healthier than being on your own. So taking care of the health of your group is really an evolved and very logical way to be. We might Darwin said survival of the fittest. We might rethink that and start thinking survival of the most compassionate, because it really does give you the ability to be within a community of people that are mutually supportive, and there's nothing better than that. Compassion really contributes to our happiness in a number of ways. It makes us more capable of sharing joy and achievement and pleasure. It brings us closer to others, of course, strengthening those social connections, and it increases the likelihood that others will help us when we need it. Compassion also is, when you're feeling compassionate, you have physiological changes to your body. It triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and relax part of your nervous system. So when you are actually experiencing compassion, your heartbeat goes down, your digestion improves, your immune system is healthier. And although compassion is an evolved trait, it's certainly not evenly distributed amongst animals or amongst humans. But we can train ourselves to be more compassionate. It's a staple of positive psychology, and there is a whole program within the psychological therapy called compassion-based therapy. Every course I've taken in compassion and every study that I've made on compassion always includes one thing that I know I've mentioned to you before, but it's called loving kindness meditation. It's the easiest compassion training you can do. In your handout, there's a wonderful, you can read through it, it's from Stanford University. In a loving kindness meditation, you send out thoughts of goodwill to people who are close to you. You visualize people who are close to you saying to you, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may your life be easy, may the trouble that you've had go away. If you just say this, do this little 5-minute loving kindness meditation every day, it guaranteed 100% will increase your level of compassion, and that will, as a result, increase that 40% of your happiness quotient that you're in charge of. It just has amazing results. There was a study in England. It was a big study. And they did 7 weeks. They had them do a loving kindness meditation. It takes minutes, twice a day for 7 weeks. And they reported a steady increase in their daily experience of all the positive emotions, such as joy, gratitude, commitment, hope, hope and love. And they also all reported greater satisfaction and lower depressive symptoms following the practice. Marty Seligman works almost exclusively with highly depressed people, and he used this as part of his positive psychology, and he found, after quite a long-term study, that using a loving kindness meditation, just training your mind to automatically wish people well, all people, even people you don't like. That's the hardest part. Think of the worst person that you really do not love or respect, and visualize that person and say, may you be healthy, may you be happy, may your life be easy, and mean it. This is why you have to practice it. It's not just, you can't wish it, you have to really get yourself to the point where you can open up and realize that we're all human beings. We're all in this together, and we could all use a little bit of love, even the worst of us. Okay, so Marty Seligman found that putting people on this program was as effective. His control group was equally depressed people that were just taking antidepressive medicines. At the end of his study, the loving kindness meditation did as much to their mental sense of not being depressed as did antidepressive drugs. That's big. I mean, I'm happy about that. Okay. Mindful. People ask me, do you really have to meditate to be mindful? And the answer to that is no. You can stop at a light and take some nice deep breaths and just be where you are. Don't think about anything particular. Just acknowledge where you are, how you feel, and that's mindfulness. It's just being in the exact moment. Mindfulness is really, it's a mental state that it's achieved by focusing our complete awareness on the present moment while really calmly acknowledging and accepting your feelings, your thoughts, and all your bodily sensations. And this is the key, without any judgment. You don't feel good or bad. You just feel. This thought, it's just a thought. You don't need to get involved with it. Thoughts, you can get to the point where thoughts are like clouds passing in the sky. You say, that's a thought. Oh, maybe you might say, oh, that's anxiety. How do I feel? Where do I feel it? So that's mindfulness meditation, and it's a learned behavior. It's easy. It sounds easy, but it really takes practice. And so you don't have to meditate to be mindful, but of course, it's like you could do one push-up, and that would be very good for you. But going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week and working out will be a lot better for you. So getting a practice, a mindfulness practice, and there are thousands of them on the internet. You can so easily get guided meditations. It's everywhere. You can take wonderful courses like MBSR, Mindfulness-Based Stress Management, started by John Zim. It's wonderful. Lots of books. It's easy to do, and it will really give you control of that 40% of your happiness that you're in control of. So there's mindfulness is really good. The Buddha said the mind is everything. What you think, you become. That's true. Meditation can give us a lot of mental resilience, but there's other things that we can do. And one of the things that will really help us increase our happiness is working on gratitude. An attitude of gratitude is a huge predictor for happiness, and it's just amplifies all the good that's in our lives. Grateful people are more apt to notice and savor positive experience. So if you're just feeling gratitude about stuff, you notice things about you that are kind of nice. When you walk by a vase, you might just sniff the flowers and just be grateful for the beautiful aroma of the flowers. Grateful people are a lot more apt to notice positive events. You can develop a positivity bias. We're born as human beings with a negativity bias. It's part of our evolved DNA as well. And when we were, early humans out on those African plains, we had to be constantly aware of danger, or we would never have survived as a species. And that negativity bias has followed us through every generation right up to now. But it's not real good for us, and we're not always in danger. We no longer, there's no leopard that's going to jump out from behind the piano and get me. I could really relax right now. So a feeling of gratitude will give you a positivity bias. You'll notice small pleasures, a cool drink, a smile. The children will just open your heart to happiness and gratitude that we've got such wonderful young children to continue on this human race for us. And it lowers our threshold for the appreciation of events. Just little tiny things will make you happier than without gratitude. So an attitude of gratitude helps us cope with negative events. You know, there's bad stuff everywhere. This isn't like just positive thinking. But when you have an attitude of gratitude, you're more apt to look for solutions rather than worry about what's actually happening. You're more apt to put yourself into the solution to a problem than just worrying about the problem. There's always going to be bad things happening in the world, but there's also a lot that we can do individually to be part of the solution. And that's, you know, that's triggered by a feeling of gratitude. There's a few simple practices we can do to increase our gratitude. And one is simply keep a gratitude journal. This really works. Sonia Luberminski, she's one of my really favorite researchers. You should really read her book, The How of Happiness. She did lots of studies about this, and she found out that you really don't even have to write in it every day. The sweet spot seems to be write in it about 3 times a week. Just morning, noon, whatever. Just keep a nice journal, pretty journal, and write down things that you're grateful for. It's good for you while you do it. But when you're having a real horrible day, it's the best thing in the world to read. Just pull out your journal and read about things that you were grateful for last week, and it'll kind of pull you out of your misery. When you're sick, read it when you're sick. You'll think, well, you know, instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm so sick, you'll think, I'm alive. That's not all bad. Okay, so a gratitude journal. I'm really trying hard to keep to 5 minutes. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because this has such long-term effects. You know, we talked about some things will make you happy for a minute. This will make you and somebody happy for a really, really long time. And it's a gratitude letter. And there's kind of instructions on how to write a gratitude letter in the handouts. But basically, you think about somebody in your life who's really been good to you. And you just sit down and open your heart and tell them why that meant a lot to you. Thank them from the bottom of your heart. Be very specific about things they have done to you to make you. So my first gratitude letter was to my older sister. She's fabulous. She's helped me out. Oh my God, she has brought my butt out of trouble so many times in my life. It's just, my husband says, your sister is the finest person I've ever known. I said, oh. I said, like, present company accepted, right? And he said, no, your sister is the finest person I've ever. I agree with him. She's the finest person I've ever known, too. So I wrote her I thought it was wonderful. She thought it was, I wrote her a letter. Now, here's the key. You have to present, you know, now COVID's over. We can do it in person. During Zoom, you had to do it during COVID, you have to do it on Zoom or FaceTime, and you can still do it that way, but you have to send them the hard copy of the letter. This isn't a letter you mail. So you take the letter, take Kleenex with you on this house call. I took it to my sister. I read her the letter. I cried the entire time I was reading her the letter. And then I gave her the letter, and she gave me a big hug. She says, Peggy, are you dying? I said, I thought, I need to write more letters if people think I'm dying before I get around to saying thank you for being good to me. But that's it. So you might try a gratitude letter. These are your tickets to happiness. Try meditation. Try getting mindful. Try a gratitude journal. Just do a little gratitude letter. Think of one. Write one this week. Write one gratitude letter this week. The person you give it to will keep it forever. And when they're feeling down, they might pull out your gratitude letter and read it. And you will make them feel good all over again. So that's really about it. Practicing empathy and compassion, doing all of these little things will really help you. So I hope for each of you that you are able to live the happiest life ever. May good health, may continued success, may peace of mind stalk you relentlessly. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. As we take offering this morning, we acknowledge the generosity and intention to support and build this welcoming committee. A perfect heart is one that has known love and loss, joy and sorrow. The perfect heart is one that is shared. As joys and sorrows of our community are shared, please direct your energy and prayers, meditations as a gift of compassion and strength. If you'd like, you are welcome to share your joy and sorrow at the microphone up here, if there are any. And if not, we could just keep them to ourselves. Please rise as you are willing and able for our second hymn. It's number 327, Joy Thou Good Goddess. Yes, we will sing just 2 verses. We will skip the 2 verses that are in German. Our closing words this morning come from Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Namaste.